In the spring of 2024, something strange happened. I got a page, yes, a real page, on a device I hadn't thought about in decades. It was a pager, the kind I'd thrown away back in 1999, convinced I'd never need it again. The world had moved on, and so had I, or so I thought. But that night, as I sat in my quiet apartment, a memory from the past came buzzing back to life. I never turned it back on. I never even tried. But somehow I still hear it beep. Every night, just as the city outside goes quiet, that faint, unmistakable sound echoes in my mind. It's as if the pager is calling out from another time, refusing to be forgotten. Sometimes I wonder if it's just my imagination, or if something deeper is at play, something I can't quite explain. This story belongs to Marcus Elridge, a 41-year-old technician from Baltimore. Marcus isn't the kind of person you'd expect to get caught up in a mystery. He's practical, methodical, and spends his days fixing things that other people have given up on. But sometimes the past has a way of finding us, no matter how far we run or how much we try to forget. In May of 2024, Marcus found himself standing in his late father's attic, surrounded by boxes that hadn't been touched in years. The air was thick with dust and the scent of old paper. He was there to clear out the space, to finally let go of the things that had been left behind. But as he sifted through the clutter, he stumbled upon a box that felt strangely familiar. Inside the weathered shoebox was his childhood baseball glove, worn smooth from years of summer games. And next to it, nestled in the corner, was his old Motorola Advisor pager, the very same one he'd carried everywhere in high school. It was a relic from another era, a time before smartphones and constant connection. The pager was dead. No battery, cracked screen covered in dust. Marcus hadn't seen it since he was a teenager, and yet, holding it now, he felt a strange sense of unease. Why had it suddenly come back into his life, and why, after all these years, did it feel like it was trying to tell him something? That night, Marcus drifted into a sleep deeper than he'd felt in years, the kind that pulls you under like a tide. The hum of the old box fan in his room faded away, replaced by a strange electric silence. In the dream, everything felt sharper, more real than reality itself. Colours too bright, sounds echoing in a way that made his skin prickle. He felt both young and impossibly old, as if he were standing at the edge of a memory he'd forgotten how to remember. He was 17 again, walking the halls of his old high school. The linoleum floors squeaked under his sneakers and the fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Lockers lined the walls, each one familiar, yet somehow distant, as if he were seeing them through a fog. The faces of the students around him were blurred, shifting and indistinct, like figures in a half-remembered photograph. He tried to focus, to recognize someone, anyone, but their features melted away the harder he looked. The air was thick with a sense of anticipation, as if something important was about to happen. He stopped at his old locker, number 214, the combination tumbling from his fingers, as if he'd never forgotten it. The metal door creaked open, and inside, bathed in an eerie, unnatural glow, was the pager. It looked exactly as it had the day he found it, out of place, humming with a silent energy. The light from the screen pulsed, casting strange shadows on the inside of the locker. Marcus reached out, his hand trembling, and as his fingers brushed the device, a jolt of cold shot up his arm. Suddenly the screen flickered to life, displaying a message in stark, blocky letters. "Stop digging. You weren't supposed to find this." The words seemed to burn into his mind, echoing in the empty hallway. He tried to press the buttons to respond, but the pager wouldn't let him. The message repeated over and over, growing more insistent, as if the device itself was warning him away from something dangerous, something he wasn't meant to uncover. Marcus jolted awake, heart pounding, sweat beading on his forehead. The dream clung to him like a second skin, every detail vivid and unsettling. He couldn't shake the feeling that it was more than just a dream, that the pager was trying to tell him something. The next morning, unable to ignore the gnawing curiosity, he tucked the pager into his jacket and made his way to the only place he could think of for answers, the old electronics repair shop on Main Street. The bell above the door jingled as he stepped inside, the air thick with the scent of solder and dust. The technician behind the counter, a grizzled man with thick glasses and a permanent smirk, took one look at the pager and burst out laughing. "Man, this thing's been dead for 25 years, he chuckled, turning it over in his hands. "You'd have better luck finding a payphone than a network to ping this old relic." He shook his head, clearly amused by Marcus's insistence that the device was still working. But Marcus pressed on, explaining the strange messages, the glowing screen, the dream that felt like a warning. Intrigued despite himself, the technician hooked the pager up to a tangle of wires and diagnostic equipment. The screen flickered, and for a moment the man's expression shifted from amusement to concern. He tapped a few keys, frowning as lines of code scrolled across his monitor. "That's odd," he muttered. "It's pinging your house from inside, like there's another device broadcasting a signal right from your address." The words sent a chill down Marcus's spine. How could that be possible? Driven by a mix of fear and fascination, Marcus raced home, tearing through every room in a desperate search. He scoured the attic, rifled through drawers, and finally, heart-hammering, descended into the dark, cluttered basement. The air was thick with dust and the scent of old memories. He climbed onto a rickety chair, pried open a loose ceiling panel, and there, nestled in the shadows, was another pager, identical to the first. Its screen glowed with a new message: "Sync complete. You are now Unit B." Marcus stared at the device, realization dawning that whatever he'd stumbled into was only just beginning. He started recording everything, videos, notes. But things around him started to shift. Photos of family he didn't remember taking. Emails from people using his voice. And one night, his reflection blinked after he did. He contacted a college professor who'd written about forgotten wireless protocols from the 90s. She called him at 3 a.m., whispering, "If you got a live signal from that pager, you've been cloned. It's not AI. It's recorded time. Don't answer again. Don't let them sync twice." He tried burning the pages. The acrid smoke curled up from the plastic, filling the basement with a chemical haze. He watched the numbers on the tiny screen flicker and fade, the casing melting, the buttons warping. But even as the flames consumed the device, he felt no relief, only a growing sense of dread, as if the pager's destruction had somehow made things worse. Didn't work. He buried them in concrete, mixing the heavy grey slurry late at night, his hands trembling as he pressed the pages deep into the wet cement. He poured layer after layer, sealing them away beneath the cold, unyielding surface. For a moment, he believed he'd finally silenced them, but the silence was only temporary. Still beeped. He disconnected power to his entire home, pulling every plug, flipping every breaker, sitting in the pitch-black silence. The house felt hollow, stripped of its familiar hum. Yet in the darkness the sound persisted, a single sharp beep echoing through the empty rooms. Still, at 12:09 a.m. each night he waited, heart pounding, eyes fixed on the clock. The hands crept forward, and as the minutes struck, the air seemed to thicken. The house held its breath. Then without fail the beep would come, soft, insistent, impossible to ignore. He hears the beep, just once. It was never loud, but it cut through the silence like a knife. Sometimes he thought he could feel it in his bones. A vibration, a memory, a warning. He searched every room, every drawer, but the source remained hidden, as if the sound was coming from nowhere and everywhere at once. And the message? Reset ready. The words glowed on the screen, steady and cold. No matter what he did, no matter how many times he tried to destroy or hide the pages, the message always returned. It was as if the device was waiting for something, or someone. Waiting for primary unit. He stopped responding. He stopped calling anyone, stopped answering the phone, stopped leaving messages. He withdrew from the world, isolating himself in his house, haunted by the relentless persistence of the signal, stopped leaving his house until last week. Neighbors noticed the lights never turned on, mail piled up, the silence grew heavier, pressing in on the walls. Then one morning he was simply gone. No note, no sign of struggle, no explanation. He vanished. No signs of struggle. His belongings were untouched, his bed still made, his shoes by the door. The only thing missing was him and the faint lingering echo of that midnight beep. But his home network shows this as the last outgoing signal, an encrypted transmission sent at exactly 12:09 a.m. The data was indecipherable, a string of numbers and static, as if the message was never meant for human eyes. Primary unit unavailable, synchronizing with Echo B. The system kept searching, reaching out into the void, waiting for a response that would never come. The network logs ended there, frozen in time. When the past calls, don't answer. Some signals are never meant to be received. Some messages are echoes from places we should never revisit. Because sometimes it's calling from inside you. And when you finally listen, you might not like what you hear.